Again, now the presidency has released the fourth part of the state capture report that details more findings on Eskom. This latest report has found that the former president, Jacob Zuma, assisted the Gupta family in capturing Eskom. In this report, Zondo also recommends that the NPA should consider prosecuting Matsela Koko and others for their role in Eskom's capture. Let's get some initial thoughts about this latest installment of the state capture report from Lawson Naidoo. He's the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, or CASAC for short. Lawson, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Well, this report, in fact, covers, we understand, like 6 areas, including Eskom, but the biggest chunk of the report is around Eskom, and all sorts of names that we've come to know during the state capture inquiry are being mentioned. Your initial reaction to the fact that Part 4 is now out?
Well, I think we must welcome the fact that these 4 substantial reports have now been released to the presidency and have immediately been made public so that we can spend our long weekend reading through those 4 volumes. But they deal with a number of key issues, including, as you say, Eskom, the attempted capture of National Treasury, as well as 2 projects in the Free State. So there's substantive work that's gone into these reports, and as the Chief Justice says, the ball is now going to be in the hands of the National Prosecuting Authority to evaluate those reports and other evidence and information that will have been shared by the State Capture Commission with the NPA. So hopefully they can continue their investigations, and that they may ultimately lead to prosecutions of people that have been implicated in wrongdoing.
Yeah, I mean, the calls for criminal prosecution have been growing each time a part of this report comes out. I mean, the NPA has got its hands full.
It certainly has, but I think we must also accept that the NPA cannot simply take the information that is contained in these reports and go and present that same evidence in a court and hope to secure a conviction. They have to do their own homework. They have to corroborate the evidence that's there. They have to build a strong, sustainable case around that information that they will have received from the State Capture Commission, and satisfy themselves that they have a case that is winnable in court and that can be properly prosecuted with a good chance of success. So we need to allow the NPA some time to be able to do that. But on the other hand, I think the focus is going to very much be on the NPA and see how they're going to handle these matters that have been put into their hands, and specifically within the investigating directorate of the NPA.
Yeah, I just want to follow on that and say Eskom, meanwhile, Lawson, I don't know if you're aware, they've announced that they've got a special task team that they have set up that's going to study the report, like I guess everybody else, made up of internal and external lawyers, and to try and come up with a plan of action in terms of complying with the recommendations as far as Eskom is concerned. Surely that's a good move by Eskom?
Well, that's the responsible thing to do for an organization like Eskom that has been, so deeply infiltrated through the state capture years. So Eskom now needs to see how they need to strengthen their internal systems and processes to create an environment where corruption and state capture can no longer take place, that they, strengthen their governance systems and processes so that it becomes a more effective organization. So one must welcome the fact that Eskom is taking these steps to try and ensure that they get their own house in order.
You've mentioned that prosecution. I mean, now we're waiting for that. Just a thought. I mean, should the country be waiting for the prosecutions only? Where does ethical leadership come in? Shouldn't some of these public figures who are in leadership positions, who are implicated, also just look in the mirror and say, ethically, what would be the right thing to do? Or shouldn't the governing party be pushing them in that direction?
Well, I think the responsibility is on all of us, as all sectors of society, to say that these are kinds of behavior that we will not tolerate, whether it's in the public sector or indeed the private sector. we expect certain standards of behavior in public life. And we should not accept anything less than that. And, we need to build a moral and ethical framework for the democracy that we live in, that we want to be, we want to engage with people who are scrupulous, who are credible, who are ethical. And if you don't meet that standard, then you should have no place, especially in public office. So I think you correctly say people should take a long, hard look in the mirror and really see whether they're fit for purpose. But unfortunately, political office and political ambition mean that people don't take those actions unless they're forced to do so. And as a broader society, we need to put pressure on those people to move out of those positions and allow people who will do the job properly in the best interest of the country, to take over.
Could one of those pressure avenues include other organizations taking legal action against some of the people implicated for as long as that prosecutional process by the NPA is pending? And we're still waiting, of course, for the final report we are told now is going to be handed to the president and made public in June.
Well, as we know, it's not possible for a private prosecution to be instituted whilst the NPA is still considering the case and considering the evidence in that regard. So I don't think that that's something that will necessarily fill the gap. What the NPA has said is that they're happy to engage private sector assistance in helping the NPA to investigate and prosecute some of these cases, specifically the kinds of skills that are not easily accessible within the NPA, such as forensic skills and the like. So I think that's the role that the private sector can play in assisting the NPA to bring forward some of these prosecutions. On the second point, Dan, I think it's, we certainly hope that this is really now the final extension for the State Capture Commission, and that we will in fact see the final report delivered to the President on or before the 15th of June. I think the country has waited long enough for these reports. We recognize the difficult job that the Commission has had to finalize all of these reports, but I think the time has now come that we wrap up the work of the Commission so we can look forward to the implementation of its recommendations.
Thank you very much. Lawson Naidoo, the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, or CASAC in short, some of his initial reaction to the fact that Part 4 of the State Capture Report has now been made public after it was handed to the Presidency earlier today.